Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Azure, and as usual, I got my boy Anthony here with me.
Cheeky breaky.
What the fuck is that from? Is that what they
It's
say in
from
the game?
Stalker, brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had no idea where you were going with that, dude. um, we're Accursed Brew, and today Anthony and I are going to have a conversation about the Stalker Trilogy Enhanced Edition. We're going to be taking a look at some of the differences between the old and the new game, addressing some of the surrounding controversy on the new trilogy, as well as seeing what the public thinks and a few extra bits as well as we go along. Now, I do want to preface real quick that the background footage you're going to see is like the first 30 minutes or so from all 6 games, just kind of giving you guys like a compare and contrast, like visually what the differences look like. But yeah, if you guys end up enjoying this video, please remember to give it a like. It's super impactful for a growing channel like ours. And additionally, and the thing that I'm really curious about is leave us a comment on what you guys think about this. It's very heated right now, talking about this subject, so I'd be really interested to see what you guys think. Use this as a platform to vent if you guys haven't had that opportunity yet, or let us know like the sort of praise that you have for the game. But regardless, I'd be very interested to see. But I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to Anthony now, so we can jump into the meat and potatoes of this video.
Yeah, and I'm just going to touch on that really quick. We do want like the conversation. So even if your opinion differs from ours, like don't feel like you can't leave the comment because it's, negative or something like that. Like I want to know people's honest opinion on it, and I know this is a very like you said, it's pretty heated right now in the Stalker fandom.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting. But we're just going to go over real quick the enhanced edition, kind of what they bring to the table and what they promised at least. So they did some atmospheric visual enhancements. They redesigned some water shaders, the upgraded sky boxes, different wetness and reflection effects. They upscaled textures, and the NPCs are overall way better looking. Environment looks a little bit better. It in my experience, this is not going to be the same for everybody. In my experience, it does run a lot better on modern machines. When I was playing the old versions for this video, I noticed a bit more graphical hiccups and slightly, I don't know, jankiness to it. I don't know if you had any of that.
Yeah, I would say the old version sometimes would like hiccup for me for sure. Like it felt like the frame timing on it was a little off, whereas the new ones ran well.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of like the game was designed in, 2008, 2010-ish.
Yeah,
Like it's not
exactly.
made for modern hardware. So there's stuff that's going to be weird. I think it was like DirectX 9 or something.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, it's overall I think they did like a pretty good job of just like polishing it and making it look better. I disagree with some of the choices that they ended up making. And mainly the AI upscaling that kind of ended up blurry on my end. I don't know if it did for you. But I do think the skyboxes look way better. Draw distance is good. There's a lot to like about what they did visually. Uh, but we'll get into a little bit more of that later. I think it delivered on probably about 60% of what they were trying to do, and the other 40 is not necessarily not there, but a little bit of a letdown in how they implemented these things. Well, maybe more like 70-30. I think they overall did like a decent job. And I think it runs better and looks better than the originals.
Yeah, I'm totally on the same page with you, dude. I think the textures are definitely like blurry at times. It's a game where they added TAA to like I just don't even think that that was a thing back in like 2008, 7 or
Yeah.
whenever this was. So adding it to the game, honestly is definitely like a questionable choice. It does make the game a little bit more blurry, but I mean, one of the first things I noticed, like right off the bat, is the skyboxes look a hell of a lot nicer, and the draw
They definitely
distance.
do.
Yeah, the draw distance is like super far, so it's really nice to see. But again, as you get closer up, that blurriness, it is really apparent. It's kind of rough. I'm really hoping that that they go and they I don't know if maybe the implementation of it was poor or if they just have to outright get rid of it or give you the option to just totally do away with it. But I would imagine that TA is pretty integral to the way the game was sort of brought back to life. But it's a little rough for sure when it comes to that blurriness. Hey guys, I wanted to quickly chime in and say that since having recorded this video, GSC has released a patch addressing the blurriness of all 3 games. Now, I will have to say that it does look better. Is it fixed? Definitely not, but it is definitely a step in the right direction. I still think our criticism is valid because this is the state that they chose to release the games in. Albeit, they have since dealt with the issues to at least some extent. But again, it was a decision they made, in my opinion, a poor decision, but one made nonetheless. And so we're going to keep in all of the criticism that we have against them for the blurriness. But I definitely had to chime in and say that there was a patch released. It did deal with it to some extent. It's still kind of a problem. But with that said, I'm going to shoot it back over to past me and past Anthony to continue the video.
I would almost prefer it. I don't know about you, but I would almost prefer it if they kept the modern NPC character models, skyboxes, all that stuff, and just like made the world like the land and everything and guns like the old versions. I think that would, but maybe the guns are fine, but some of them have a little bit blurriness, like the stickers or writing on them is like a little, I don't know, it just looks off. But then again, you compare it to the 2007 version and it's still blurry because it's 2007.
Yeah.
Like it's not high fidelity.
Yeah, that's the thing, dude. Like it doesn't matter which way you sort of strike it. Like it's not going to look great either as a byproduct of its age or a poor I don't know, like a poor fixer upper job or something. I don't even know what the hell I would call it. A poor remaster. I don't know. It's just kind of rough regardless. It's definitely something I wish that they'd put a little bit more time and attention to, because that they saw this, right? It's not like that
Yeah.
this popped up the second they uploaded the exe to Steam. So
Yeah, it's not a hardware issue. Everybody sees it. Like
yeah, exactly.
I mean, personally, I do think the remasters look better overall. Like generally a lot better and they run better. So I'm not like I can't be upset about it, especially because of the fact that they give you, if you had the old games in your Steam account, they gave you the enhanced edition for free. If you buy the enhanced edition, even though the old version isn't available for purchase anymore, you still get it. So it's not like they're taking away anything.
See, I think you still can buy the original, but I think you have to look for it. You have to find like a direct link to the Steam listing. I don't think you can
Got it.
like
Okay.
search for it. So, I mean, effectively, like it might as well not be on the platform if you have to like
Yeah.
get a direct link, because at the end of the day, like the people that are really dedicated to find it are going to. But if you're not one of those people,
Well,
like
they're
your
just gonna
average
have like
everyday
the GOG
gamer,
version or something. Yeah.
yeah, like your average everyday gamer is just not going to bother. And honestly, your everyday gamer is probably not going to use GOG either. As much as it would
Yeah.
be nice if people did, they're probably not going to use that either. So it is pretty effectively removed. But I just wanted to address it in case anybody brought up the fact they were like, oh hey, like you can still technically, like, sure, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I agree, man. I do think this is overall like a net positive, although it does come with some hitches, some hiccups that hopefully that they can iron out in time.
Like I said, overall, I'm pretty happy with it, minus about 30%, as I touched on earlier. But I think that it's not a bad thing that these exist. I think it's, like you said, a net positive for the Stalker fandom.
But damn, okay. Well, to get into the next thing, right? The kind of controversial
This one's all
piece.
you, brother.
Yeah, the controversial piece of all this, and I on my way home today, I was driving and I don't do this often, but I was talking to myself, just kind of like trying to, how am I going to put this succinctly and try to make the most sense of it? Where do I really like fall in terms of like my opinion, my feelings on this matter? So I'm gonna preface my point first, and then I'm gonna get into how I feel. Right. So off the bat, if you're somebody who feels vindicated by the exclusion of a lot of the Russian assets and voice lines, things like that, like pretty much any of the Russian influence from the original games just isn't really present as much as I'm sure that they tried to get rid of. Right. If you're somebody who feels vindicated by that exclusion, I think you're valid, right? Like there is an ongoing war. Like let's not pretend like this game was made in a vacuum. There's going to be, some repercussions of that, and this is that thing. So if you're somebody who likes that, that's cool. But also on the inverse, if you're somebody who feels like the spirit of the game has kind of been stripped away from it, again, I think you're totally valid in feeling that way, because to some extent it has. Like I mean, at the end of the day, like the whole problem of what happened, stems from what the Russians did, right? Like that's kind of like where all of this. It's how this game came to be. I think either way, either which way, I think you're valid in how you feel. I think there's really strong opinions to be on both sides, and I don't mean to be a fence sitter on this. Typically, I like to take a firm stance one way or the other, but I think this is one of the few times that I think that you could probably go on either side and be valid for that. I think in terms of how I feel, and I kind of hit on this a little bit already. I don't feel like this game was made in a vacuum, right? Like there's obviously going to be some outside influence from what's going on. I mean, the studio had to upend itself and move to a different country because of the problems that were happening as a consequence of Russia's invasion, right? Like it's not like this didn't happen, and it's not like this isn't going to make them feel some type of way. Like I felt I could see the studio being like, hey, you know what? Like, fuck these guys. Let's just make our own thing and not profit off of the backs of the things that they've done. Of course, again, that kind of takes away from the spirit of where it came from. But I have, if you've been with this channel long enough, and I'm not going to sit here and get like uber political with it, but if you've been with us long enough, you understand where we sit in terms of the conflict that's happening, and I can see where they're coming from. I fuck with that. Like, I get it, and I understand that, and I don't necessarily think the game is significantly worse off as an exclusion of it. At the end of the day, this is like a fictional world, right? Like, there's a lot of made up make believe things that you have to suspend your disbelief to really fuck with. And so
Raylock is real to me, damn it.
that's the thing, is that like we're in a fake world. Like, come on. Like, I think kind of pushing the pedal just a little bit further, or whatever, the figurative object a little bit further isn't the worst thing to happen. Again, I think you're valid both ways.
The only thing I'm going to say on this, because we've been on it for a little bit, I agree with everything you've said. I think I am less upset about the fact that it's not in the I would be more upset about the fact that they have the censoring in the remaster if the originals weren't still available. But that product is still there for you. Like, it's still, you could still play it as it was, and you could mod it beautifully and make it look even better than this. Like, it's not that big of a deal, which we'll get to in a bit. We're about to get onto mods, but I just wanted to say that because it's like, it's still there for you to access. It's not like they took that away.
I'm actually really glad you said that. That is one of the things that I said a lot in the car, but I completely forgot to mention. I think because the original product is there, like you said, I think that makes it more tolerable. Yeah, 100%, dude. But that's all I want to say on that piece. Valid either which way. I'm glad that the original's still there, but it's also understandable why they've taken the route that they have. But this is the part where if you're still with us, leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. I am very interested to hear on this, and be respectful. Definitely leave us a comment on what you guys think. But to kind of jump into, some of the public sentiment, the Steam comments, things like that. Broadly speaking, all three games of the Enhanced Edition, they're all mixed reviews on Steam. Nobody's a big fan of them. Everybody's citing bugs, glitches, issues, things like that. Nothing that me and Anthony have really experienced having played the new versions, but again, this is what a lot of people are seeing. Everybody, I mean, at the end of the day, your mileage is going to vary, right? Like, there's some glitches I experience in games that Anthony has in, and vice versa. So that's understandable. But yeah, I'm gonna pick one of these Steam comments. I'm gonna have you read the other one, but one of the Steam comments that we were seeing on here, and this is pretty. This kind of like succinctly puts how a lot of the negative feelings people have about this game, how they feel. The positives are like, they're cool, but like it's. I'm really interested in hearing the dissenting opinions. But one of the comments left by where's this guy's username? I don't even think his username is on this. Yeah, there's no username in this. Regardless, left by not recommended thumbs down is what I'm going to call him. Stalker Enhanced Bugs Edition. He goes on to say that just because it's free,
when there's a title like that on a review, it's gonna cook.
Oh my god, yeah, this guy was brewing this motherfucker up, dude. He was brewing this accursed comment in his little fucking dungeon. But yes, he goes on to say,
the channel.
That's how you slip it in, dude. That's how we're getting good at this. But he says, just because it's free for me doesn't mean it's immune to criticism. Other people have to buy this in the future, which is very true. And is something that we're going to hit on in here in just a little bit. The AI slop upscaling the broken audio, the EULA for mods, which can't even modify ITX. I think that's what that is. Files, LOL, pointless FSR that just makes the game look worse, and an ad for Stalker 2 in the menu, which I don't know. I guess you could have an issue with that, but I don't really think that's a problem. But and a whole host of new bugs, which again we really haven't dealt with ourselves. But then he also says, he talks about the opening video crashing. You could tell there's a lot of playtesting said in jest, which, it's maybe there really wasn't, because again, the game is very blurry. I mean, you would hope they didn't make a conscious decision to release a product in that state, knowing full well how poor it was going to look. I would hope that maybe this was a consequence of just needing to make a buck to keep the studio floating, given all the things that have happened. But really, at the end of the day, you don't know. But then, yeah, he also talks about removing the assets and things like that, the AI having issues, the pathfinding, so on and so forth. All valid issues if these are things that, he's experienced. He does have 11 and a half hours in the game, which, to be honest, is more than most. But regardless, I feel like he tends to kind of encompass a lot of the issues people are seeing with the game. It's kind of a lot of things, to be honest. Some of that I can understand, some of it I just haven't really experienced. But yeah, I mean, what about your guy, dude? What does he get into?
So this guy right here, He's another not recommended. I don't have his username, but he says, I'm a huge fan of Stalker since 2007, but this enhanced air quotes version sucks. Stalker without Russian language. No improvement, added more bugs. Everything is blurry. FPS drops even on RTX 5080, and the game stucks from time to time. That's as he wrote it. When you try to use English language, you will hear people speaking on Russian or Ukrainian, so you will not understand some discussions between NPCs if you only know English. You can't just come to an NPC and talk to it. You must find right spot to do it. Better to play classic Stalker version, not this horrible piece of junk. This guy has zero point 0.4 hours on record playing this. So he gave this game about less than 30 minutes. He gave this game like 26 minutes. And he's already experiencing a ton of bugs that I never experienced on an RTX 5080. So this dude has a machine. And granted, I'm not invalidating that. I'm just saying, usually when I see a negative review with under an hour played and they have a lot to say, I think they just wanted to be mad about it going in. And again, he makes some good points. Everything is blurry. If there are FPS drops, if there is, the censorship without Russian language, like those are issues that are valid. I never experienced any of that besides the blurriness, and obviously I experienced the censorship because I played it. But I didn't. If anything, I think it fixed more bugs. I had way more bugs in the classic versions playing it this week, prepping for this video, than I did in the enhanced versions. But that was my experience. So all I'm saying is, if you're going to leave a review that you're really bitching about something, play it for an hour. That's all I'm going to say on that. I think he is valid in his review, but I think the review that Azriel read was had a lot more meaning to it because he put more time into it and he actually wrote out his thoughts instead of just saying blurry, this
Bad.
FPS drops,
Junk.
sucks, junk.
Oh, no,
I think this guy, yeah, the game sucks from time to time. Like I said, I'm not invalidating this issues. He very well may have had them. I have a way worse machine than he does, and I didn't have any issues. I had more issues on the old ones.
Yeah, I think your bit on the whole like checking out the old games and prep for this video is very true. I mean, I did deal. I mean, like I dealt with issues. Like you're right when you said earlier about it being like a 2008 game playing on a machine from 17 years later or whatever. Like it's gonna have problems, but definitely experienced some issues. So I don't know. I didn't really see anything wrong with the new ones, but each their own, right? Your mileage varies.
So the one thing I do want to add that I think is like a very positive thing in these enhanced editions is the Steam Workshop support. And we were talking earlier about, the common man, not necessarily lowest common denominator, but the people that are going to be interacting with this most likely. Um, Steam Workshop, I'm a huge fan of Steam Workshop for mods just because it makes it so easy for my friends who are less computer literate than I am. Like Azzy and I have experience with modding games and going into the root files and system folders and editing INIs and all this stuff. Listen, we modded Bannerlord when it was still in early access, so we've dealt with remodding every 3 days. If we could get through that, we can get through anything computer wise. But I've always been a fan of just how Steam Workshop makes it easy for the everyman. Now, it does have its limitations. There are some issues with it, obviously. Not everything always works right. It's hard to get stuff over there sometimes. But it's a click of a button to install a mod onto your game. And I think that makes it so wonderful. And I hope that with this Steam Workshop support and the fact that they're giving the mod kit out for the enhanced edition as well, that we're going to start seeing some magical stuff. Just like and we'll touch on this more too in a bit, but just like how Oblivion remaster is having like all the mods slowly get remade in this, who knows? We might see an anomaly mod, or we might see something awesome that we haven't seen before, or just getting the stuff that we used to have. But you could still mod the old games if you just want to play Anomaly. Go play Anomaly. Like it's I don't know. I'm a fan of it. If you're not big into mods, if you just want to play the vanilla game, that's totally fine. But I do think that having Steam Workshop and just being able to subscribe to mod lists and having individual mods that you could input into your game very easily is going to be better for the community overall because more people are going to get to experience stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's very important, and I think it's honestly a perfect segue into sort of comparing, doing a soft comparison. As I said earlier, the footage is comparing the old trilogy to the new trilogy, nothing to do with mods or anything like that, but just to give kind of like an idea of like what a comparison between the enhanced edition and the modded OGs kind of like what they look like stacked up against one another. Um, I would very confidently and easily say the modded OGs are just effectively a better game than the trilogy, than the enhanced edition is
Definitely.
by far. The mods, like you said, like Anomaly and things like that, dude, they're incredible. The things that
Anomaly
they,
is one of the best mods ever made for any game.
oh
Like,
yeah,
I'll
like
stand on that.
oh my god, yeah, like almost by far. Like next to like Enderall releasing like a full-fledged like its own thing
Yes.
on Steam, like it's up there as one of the goats of mods. It makes the game substantially different. And if you are somebody who is a patient gamer who has the knowledge of being able to, and honestly, it's not even like modding is all that complicated for Stalker, but it's still kind of like a barrier to entry for those OGs and experiencing them in the best way possible. Is modding them. It does require like a little bit of thought. There's YouTube videos, all types out there right now that'll help kind of guide you through that process. But that's kind of where the game is best experienced, to be completely honest, between this and that. Um, which kind of gets me to my next point, which is whether or not this trilogy is better, like in terms of just speaking very broadly on it. Is this good for the series? Is this better? I'm going to tackle one aspect of this, and I'm going to kick it off to Anthony for the other aspect. But the first being in the short term, to be honest, no. Like I think it's kind of like as much as we've said it's a net positive, and it kind of will be over time. In the short term, it's kind of rough, right? If people are experiencing a bunch of bugs and glitches and things like that, that's something that they're going to have to put. GSC is going to have to put man hours into fixing. When it comes to the blurriness, they're going to have to put man hours into fixing that as well. And then also when it comes to mods, I mean, we were just talking about how modding the OG is like so cool, this, that, and the other. Well, it's going to take time for mod authors to go back and port these mods over if they're even still around and if they even want to do it. So we may end up relying on somebody else to pick up that mod or, sort of do like a faithful recreation of it for the new games. And that's going to take time. Anomaly was not done overnight, right? Like that took, however many years to kind of get that baby up and running. And there's even there's some big Stalker mods out there right now that are still being
And
actively
I'm
worked
pretty
on.
sure Anomaly is like a decently sized mod team too. It's not like just one guy pumping it out. Like there's people with differing schedules that have to do stuff. So we'll see. I mean, I'm hopeful for it, but you still have it on the original, and it looks great. Like there are quite a few HD type mods that you could download that make the original look really good.
Yeah, that makes it look beautiful, dude. And the weather mods and things like that too. I mean, they
Yeah.
get so good as to kind of rival what Stalker 2 brings to the table. But this is kind of like the side effect of doing any sort of re-releases and things like that, is that you end up, being compared to the modded versions of whatever the original games were. It's something that, Anthony had mentioned we see with Oblivion. There's been some like whispers of a Fallout 3 remaster. It's going to be something you're going to see with that as well.
Just give me New Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, dude. It's just a consequence of re-releasing these games. You're gonna lose like a lot of like history that came after its release. It's just, it just happens. So I think in the short term, it's definitely gonna be kind of like a little bit rough. I think in the long term, you'll see these games encompass they're gonna carve out their own niche. That will take time. And a little bit of hope and a prayer that mod authors come back and see to fixing these things back up, getting them working and running on the newer versions of their games. But honestly, time will tell. But I'll kick it over to Anthony, give the other perspective on whether or not this is kind of better. I guess so.
So I've been mulling this over in my head this whole video because we've had this line written in the script for a while, and I was thinking about how I'm going to tackle it, and it's about like the new audience experience to Stalker in the original trilogy. So like 15 years, 15, 18 years, whatever it's been, is a long time. That's a whole ass adult like lifespan. People were born since Stalker has come out that have never played the original Stalker, got into Stalker 2 and probably loved it because Stalker 2 is a wonderful game. Um, and went back to try these. I think somebody going from Stalker 2 as their first Stalker game, the enhanced version is going to be a much better experience for them. And I think that's a good thing. Like whether you're a fan of the OGs over the remastered or not, or you hate any of the things that they did, I still think it's a net positive for the Stalker fandom and Stalker community to make it more easily accessible for people new to the series. And I think if I think if Stalker didn't have such a cult following and there wasn't so much political strife around the development of the game and everything involving the studio and censorship and everything, I think if it wasn't for that, these reviews wouldn't be mixed. I think it would also have flown farther under the radar, but I think you'd see probably, generally positive reviews overall for people experiencing it for the first time versus people coming back to it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, man. I do think that this is just a straight up net positive. I think being able to introduce this to a wider audience is always a good thing. I don't think that this re-release was so egregious that you're gonna like really kill any sort of like hype or attention or any sort of like potential purchase from these people. I definitely think that they exist and they're here and they're gonna be picking it up. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe I could be wrong in my kind of take on that, but I definitely think that this is going to be it's just going to be a good thing for the franchise regardless. And honestly, what you were saying too about this not necessarily having so much just sort of general level of strife surrounding it. Albeit this might flow a little bit under the radar, like you said, this would be trending very well because this is like a solid game. Like blurry games, like to be honest, it's like nothing specific to this. There's a lot of blurry re-releases or double A games that are kind of blurry and things like that.
18 years is a long time. Like I said, who knows if even if the original Anomaly team isn't fully together, who knows if there's some 15-year-old whiz kid that can code like shit and he's going to come out and make the next Anomaly for the enhanced edition. Like you don't
Yeah.
know, like there's so much opportunity and so many more people exist on this planet since Stalker originally came out and was experienced by us as a human race. Like who knows? Like there could be somebody who like really falls in love with this and wants to make something awesome. And guess what? You're going to get it. Like it's going to happen. There's going to be more mods that didn't exist for like you may not have all the original mods, but there's going to be new ones. And you're going to get to experience more Stalker. And if you're a real fan of the series, which I don't think people would be so mad if they weren't giant fans of Stalker. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't care if you didn't love the game. And I think that's encouraging, even though it can, be, uh, you know,
It like manifests itself in a really negative way sometimes.
exactly that, dude. You stole the words from my mouth. Thank you. Like even if it can manifest really negatively, I still think the people who love Stalker as a series and love generally what they tried to do with the originals. Like this is a good thing for you, even if you don't like it right now. Like it will be more advanced eventually. They're releasing the mod tools. There's gonna be stuff, and you're gonna get to play more Stalker. Like even if you don't love it, you have the old games. I keep going back to that, but like, don't be upset. They're still there. They did not take them away from you.
Yeah, and I think that kind of brings us into the last point we wanted to hit on, which is whether or not you should really be picking this game up. And I think for your average everyday Joe, your everyday gamer, I think this is a super easy purchase, especially for somebody who's on consoles, right? Like you don't have the opportunity to mod if you're on a console. We've been talking about this from the perspective of a PC player right from the beginning, because for somebody on the console, I think it's super simple. Like, um, you can't mod it, so there's no real like decision between the old or the new. The old is just going to be better. It's just going to be a better product. I don't even think you can get the new is going to be a better product. I don't even think you have the option of the old for something like the Switch. You know what I mean? Like you don't. You know what? I think they re-released a trilogy. I don't know if that is on the Switch or not. But regardless, it's an easy decision. I think if you're on the PC, I think you really need to ask yourself whether or not you have the patience or understanding or willingness to sit down and figure out how to mod the old ones. Again, it's really not that difficult. There's a shitload of YouTube tutorials out there on how to do that. And I'll say this again, like the fifth time, it's pretty straightforward. So it's not like you're having you're twisting somebody's arm and a leg to do that. Um, it's super easy. It's a super easy task. But I think that's what it boils down to. Or if you really care about the censoring, right? Like if you really wanted that Russian influence to kind of stay like intertwined in that game, I think it's going to bother you that it's not there anymore. But I mean, I don't know how substantial of like a segment of the people who are going to be playing Stalker that sort of resonates with, but that could also be like a pretty big sticking
Those
point.
people are those and something you got to remember, especially with reviews, is like people who are mad are going to be way more vocal. It's always the vocal minority who's going to make the most noise. And I think overall, probably people are. It's probably more positive than negative. But even though you've seen, at least I've seen a lot more negative online.
Yeah, I would say so. And plus, we're only looking at Steam. You know, I'm not seeing like what Xbox reviews are saying or
Dude, the Reddit hates it.
oh my god, the Reddit hates everything Stalker, dude. They're
The
like
any Reddit that is named after something after like 3 years turns into a hate subreddit for whatever it's named for. I'm
you,
convinced.
the only thing that doesn't, and this is totally an aside from everything else, but the only one that I have noticed it's not like that is the Starfield one. They're like so fucking hyped up on like copium, bro. Like they're
Bro,
just
I think I
slurping
think I
at
think it's just like Bethesda employees.
yeah, like it's weird. Like they all fucking adore it, and some of them are like, yeah, well, it has its issues, but man, do I love just getting lost in worlds? And it's like, bro, like
I
shut the
spent
fuck up.
700 hours in here. It's like, okay, brother.
Yeah, like that's like a fucking
Play League like an adult for 700 hours. Come on.
yeah, like don't fucking waste your time on Starfield. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. Most Reddits are honestly just super fucking negative. Um, man, I couldn't tell you the last like positive, and you see like a positive comment, 30 fucking downvotes, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I guess it really, you know, I would hope that the conversation that Anthony and I just had kind of helps convince you one way or the other on whether or not you feel like you should or shouldn't pick up the game. I do think it's a net positive, but I guess time will tell. Kind of how you know we will look back and see how things are, you know, like a year or two from now. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed your time with us. I love you guys,
Love you.
and we will catch you guys in the next one.